BIP of Bizarre Interest Productions, and with Inazuma 11 Victory Road coming out and people pulling what they did with Beyblade, it's finally time for me to make a full video and a quick recap of the Inazuma 11 series. Though you're unfamiliar with the series, Inazuma 11 is kind of a multimedia franchise with a game and an anime or sometimes a manga would release, with the anime going for a long time, usually about a year, since they have a lot to cover with the material. The basic premise is Inazuma 11, Inazuma means lightning in Japanese, is an association football, aka soccer themed media franchise created by Level 5. The same people behind Professor Layton series, the criminally underrated, underexposed, and definitely should have had all its anime and games come over here in Danball Senki, aka LBX, aka Little Battles Experience, which we will talk about another day, the Yokai Watch franchise, and a couple of more. I'm in the middle between a casual Inazuma fan and a diehard, so this video is for people who are mostly new to the franchise, though for any veterans who have something to add or I think messed up in somewhere, please speak up in the comments. I'm always grateful to hear from more Inazuma 11 fans. In the comment section, if you made it this far, type stand up if you love soccer, if you made it this far, and let's get started. Inazuma 11's first anime aired between 2008 and 2011, adapting the first three games, Inazuma 11's 1, 2, and 3, which were each released between 2008, 2009, and 2010. The plot of Inazuma 11 is about Endou Mamoru, or Mark Evans if you're watching or playing the localized versions, the grandson of the legendary Daisuke Endo, or David Evans, believed to have passed. His grandfather was the coach of the legendary soccer team Inazuma 11, to which Endo didn't learn about till later, and Endo decided to be a strong goalkeeper in Japan, which makes sense because his Japanese name Mamoru means to protect. Kamen Rider fans in the audience, I am so sorry for the flashbacks. Endo is the captain of his middle school soccer team at Raimon Junior High and wants to compete in the Football Frontier or Soccer Frontier tournament. But the club is on the verge of disbanding since the members aren't interested in training, so there's not a lot of members. So while training forward, the offensive member of a soccer team named Goenji Shuyar, Axel Blaze if you're watching the dub, arrives at Endo School, who actually quit the sport for personal reasons tied to his family, which gets the attention of Tekyo Gaikun, or Royal Academy's captain, and midfielder Kido Yuto, or Judo Sharp, and their coach Ray Dark, or Reiji Kageyama, the main antagonist. Kido-kun challenges Endo's team and beats them, especially since they have their own special moves and anime techniques that Endo's team doesn't have. However, Goenji decides to help out, and with that feeling of trust, Endo's training results in him creating a Hisatsu technique, basically a special move known as the God Hand, based on his grandfather's notes, and is able to stop the ball, allowing Goenji to use his own technique, Fire Tornado, to score on Tekoku. Because of this, despite Tekoku beating them 10-0 in the first half, Kido forfeits since they saw Goenji's power, but Goenji doesn't officially join Endo's team yet. So Raimon's able to qualify for the Football Frontier, and the first half of Season 1 in the game is Endo trying to get Goenji to join the team and learn why he quit, the other members of the team who were there from the beginning trying to make their own Hisatsu techniques and abilities as they climb up the ranks in the tournament to reach the finals, so they can face Kido-kun and Tekoku again, while learning more about why Kido, who's shown to have some morals, would work with a guy like Kageyama. Kageyama tries sabotaging and getting the team hurt twice, but Kido is able to help Raimon get Kageyama arrested, and Raimon eventually defeats Tekoku in order to get to the Nationals. The second half of the game in Season 1 consists of the team and their female managers trying to find a coach who worked with Endo's grandfather before and why they split. Kido joins Raimon after Tekoku is crushed by the new villain team. Zeus, divine-clad players who eventually Raimon have to face, and despite a hard battle, by exposing the truth behind Zeus' strength, the team are able to defeat them, which leads into Season 2 and the second game. The next season and game kick off with, after winning the Football Frontier, a group of aliens from Alias Academy, a mysterious school, or rather part of a series of teams, use a soccer match to defeat and destroy other schools, completely defeating Raimon. With this new threat and a new van, the Inazuma Caravan, and a new coach with ties to the villains, Endo and the team travel across Japan to recruit new players to help them out, find out what's going on behind Alias Academy, and with all these teams, try to save Japan from being destroyed. I won't spoil everything, but this season is much darker and plot-heavy. Raimon loses team members along the way. The new protagonist, Sean or Fubuki, helps out, but has some serious issues that the story explores. And the villains, for the most part, are surprisingly complex in their motives, and there is a valid explanation for the twists. Also, girls can fight and actually play since it's not in the tournament. We will have to talk about that another time. Though to note, Season 2 is broken up into two halves with a major turning point giving the opening changes. Season 3 and the third game finished off with Raimon beating Alias Academy and saving the world in time for the global tournament, the Football Frontier International, and with a new coach rumored to be cursed, the new Japan team Inazuma Japan, or Inazuma National in the localization, is recruiting Endo, his teammates, and past friends and rivals for the team. Season 3 has 3 openings that help break up the story into 3 parts. The first part is where the team basically have to figure out their issues and get through the Asian preliminaries in order to get through the Asian tournament, including running into some old adversaries and friends along the way. The middle portion has them competing in the worldwide tournament's first stage against England, America, and Italy, with old teammates returning and new ones leaving, and eventually during this they have to stop some angels and devils from resurrecting the Demon King in a soccer match. Also, the girls are not allowed to compete until they fight these non-humans again. The final portion has the team learn about Kageyama's past and the man behind fueling his rage, trying to use Sakka to take over the world, just go with it. And the truth of what happened to Endo's grandfather gets revealed as Endou and Inazuma Japan have to face off in the semi-finals and finals against opponents that low-key mirrored the start of their journey. Oh, and there was an Ogre version of the game which ended up adapted into an anime movie where a new team called Ogre goes back in time to defeat Zeus and decimated Raimon, but with 10 minutes of the game left, Endou's grandson Canon arrives from the future to bring Endou's allies from Season 3 to help them wage a comeback. Ogre tries to defeat Endou, though in the game, Ogre inserted themselves into the Football Frontier International, so the team had to time travel to the future in order to beat him. Okay, the Go trilogy follows a similar trajectory to the games with Go 2 Chrono Stone, and Go 3 Galaxy coming out in 2011, 2012, and 2013, with the anime following suit between 2011 and 2014. So with the first game and anime of Go, 10 years after the Football Frontier International, Japan's soccer unit has resulted in most of the matches becoming rigged and the players not having a choice in being allowed to fight the way that they want. With new protagonists Tenma Mazukaze or Arian Sharewind, yes, both of his names have wind theme because a lot of his techniques are wind theme, who decided to fight the Fifth Sector organization controlling Japan's soccer state to take back real soccer and fight to actually win instead of having the matches rigged, including getting the new Raimon members to join their side and properly fight, which is essentially basically the new generation with occasional help from the older players who are now coaches, trying to help them reach the Holy Road finals. You also got 3 co-protagonists, Tsurugi Kosuke / Victor Blade, an anti-villain working with Fifth Sector first to join Raimon thanks to his brother's accident, Shindo Takuto / Ricardo de Ryogo, the new captain of Raimon, and Tenma's new best friend, the overhated Shinsuke Nishizono or Jean-Pierre JP. Go also introduces fighting spirits or Kenshins, or basically avatars, which anyone who has one can buff their stats or increase with their special moves, or they can even get a new special move, but they can also get evolutions when we talk about the next season, Chronostones. Okay, intermission. I have to talk about the Griffin movie I haven't seen. Basically, the team ends up going to Fifth Sector's island to fight specifically trained soccer players, where they draw out avatars from the young players that they train. Long story short, they fight the trained team, and the leader, Dragon Boy named Hakuryu, Dragon Theme Boy, are saved by the original trilogy's Inazuma Japan to train for a rematch. Tenma meets an Aztec-inspired boy named Shu, who challenges his team, and Shu's backstory was that soccer was used to decide what girl in his tribe would be sacrificed, which actually included his sister, and Shu ended up joining Fifth Sector out of grief. Longer story short, Tenma gets through Shu, Tsurugi gets through Hakuryu, and it's revealed Shu was actually a spirit the whole time, and that the main antagonists of Fifth Sector were trying to figure out those who become second stage children, which is a spoiler that will play a factor into the next season, which is why I kind of have to talk about it, especially since Shu and Hakuryu actually show up in Chronostone and Galaxy, though one showed up in Chronostone and one showed up in Galaxy. But we'll talk about that later. Speaking of Chronostone, let's get into that. After Tenma returns home, he finds out Raimon's soccer club never existed, coming across Alpha from a future organization known as El Dorado, who wants to destroy soccer in the past, trying to destroy soccer when he's saved by another kid from the future, Faerun, and his robotic android bear, Clark Wonderbot. So Tenma and the crew have to travel through time to learn from past warriors and present ones to improve the soccer skills and stop El Dorado from destroying an entire sport throughout history. The new gimmick is Kenshin Armed, which allows the user to wear their fighting spirit and makes them strong. And another new gimmick, Miximax. Miximax is basically a feature where a player fuses with another character's aura, which is where the name Chronostone comes in. Endou and someone else were sealed inside a Chronostone that seals the person in time. But that other person that was close to him also got sealed. So that person came up with the idea for Tenma and crew to travel back in time, and through finding 11 players who can mix match with these ancient figures, they can create the strongest soccer team in actual history. Which sounds insane until you remember that there's people from the future that they're fighting. Okay, before the next season, we did get a crossover between Inazuma 11 and LBX/Danbou Senki, where I have heard debates about its canonicity, but it has LBXW, and I want to talk about it even though I didn't watch the movie yet. Basically, Tenma and Endou's teams are going to have a match when they are attacked by a trio of villains, a soccer player with a swarm of the LBX robots, seemingly killing Endou and Inazuma 11 Japan. But Rei helps Tenma and crew escape, where they meet up with LBX protagonist Ban Yamano and his friends, who explain that the villains are causing the world to break apart thanks to universe hopping. So the soccer players and 8-inch robot battlers team up to save reality from falling apart, and they even introduce some new techniques that weren't used in the anime, so I'll check it out when I can, and also, I suggest you check out the Danbou Senki and LBX franchise. You'll have to sell for the full anime sub, since Level 5's problems with promotion and advertising outside of Japan is much worse with that franchise than Inazuma 11's, with that trilogy of amazing anime and games. But since I've heard some Inazuma 11 fans either say that they skipped the LBX portion of the movie or not give it a chance, I suggest if you are a fan of Inazuma 11, or you remember the abridged LBX dub that was on Nicktoons, or the Little Battlers Experience 3DS game that told the full story that was the expanded version of the original game, I suggest you give whatever translated version of the series you can find a chance, especially with all the episodes being subbed. If you also were an LBX fan, let me know in the comment section below. Type LBX is awesome, so I can get more people who actually do know about those franchises too. Because Level 5 is a great company, and they deserve all their franchises to be well known to some degree. Then we get to the final season of the Go era, Galaxy. So the Football Frontier International Vision 2 is being held. So like Season 3, it's going to take place with a super team of Raimon's allies and rivals for this generation. Right? So Tenma, Shindo, and Tsurugi are part of the team. However, the rest of their teammates are people who have never played soccer in their whole lives, but they have the soul to try, and it's up to the trio to help them live up to their potential or lose in the tournament. And as for the Galaxy in the name, let's just say that the tournament turns out to be one where even if they make it to the preliminaries, their entire plan is on the line if they can't defeat their extraterrestrial adversaries. And that's where the original timeline ends. I hinted at the gimmick, but let's just say that part of what decides who the team members were meant to be a simpler but understandable mechanic after Kenshin and Mix Max. Wait, I just remembered I have to talk about the Dream Match special movie. Long story short, basically Japan was given a poll to decide the team members of the Inazuma Best 11 with a 12th choice for the substitute, and the top 12 choices were picked for the team. So for their opponents, the anime crew chose them in Inazuma Battle 11 of other characters, rivals, allies, adversaries, and opponents, since both teams across almost every season or installments got representation. There's some contention about who was chosen, and I have two people from the Heroes, aka Best Side, who I question why they were snubbed. But besides that, it's still a fun watch for fans, especially since Inazuma 11 took a hiatus for about 3 to 4 years until Aries. Aries and Orion are what to talk about because they weren't packaged with a game. The plan was for an Inazuma Aries or Orion game to come out alongside the anime in 2018, but the delays caused numerous issues until Victory Road's progress resulted in the game we have coming out this month. So, what's the general idea? Basically, Aries takes place after Season 1, but in another timeline, where the Alias Academy never happened, and a few characters have a better living fates. In Outer Code and Reloaded, which were basically mini-specials, basically Endou's team meets the international Spain team Barcelona Orb, who decimated them so badly, the soccer committee decided to have Raimon disband and join different teams around the country, so they can improve the overall quality in the country since they won the tournament, which leaves Raimon itself without any current members. So the new protagonists are from a city in the rural areas, but their team was going to be disbanded without a sponsor. So their questionable coach arranged Inokuni to transfer to Raimon and become Inokuni Raimon. Yeah, Backwater is the dub name, but it sounds a little bit messed up. So, yeah. Aries revolves around the new kids trying to work their way up the tournament and battle teams who occasionally have a Raimon member, with Asto Inamori or Sunny Wright as the face of the team, with Haizaki Ryohei or Elliot Ember of Seishio Gakken, who wants to fight the Aries group for what they did to his best friend Akane, aka Fate. And finally, part of the trio is Yuma no Sakka or Heathmore, who may have supported the Aries program and is the final boss both Asto and Haizaki have to go up against, while trying to determine the right path to take in life. Also, the girls can finally compete in the tournament without having to worry about fighting evil this time. And after that is Orion, where This time, it's Inazuma Japan, but with the new Aries characters on the team, with some members of the original Inazuma 11 trilogy characters, and a brand new force on the team, Ichihoshi Hikaru, who's tied to the new villains called the Disciples of Orion, who seek to manipulate and cheat through their agents in order for them to get ahead in the tournament that Inazuma Japan must survive if they want to win the Football Frontier International. And that leads us into Victory Road. I have no idea if this game is getting an anime, but after the production hell that this game had, I'm finally glad it's released and hopefully to good scores. 25 years after Inazuma Japan, not sure which timeline, won, Dustin Billows, aka Unmei Sasanami, who can't play soccer, transfers to Nagumohara, South Surus, and the other protagonist of Chronicle Mode is traveling throughout time to create the ultimate Kenshin by assembling the strongest football team throughout history, which was actually based off Unmei's original plan for Great Road, where he'd gather a football team by scouting players throughout the different time periods. The script for this video got done November 16th at 1:45 p.m., but I just finished recording this at 12:15 a.m. on Monday morning. So let me know what your thoughts are, what your favorite Inazuma 11 characters, favorite games, favorite moments from the anime, anything I should have mentioned, if I did a good job explaining everything, and thanks for watching. And let me know, especially for my followers who I know I've talked about Inazuma 11 here and there in the past, but this is the first time I'm making a full video on it. So let me know if I actually got you invested or curious into getting involved in the franchise somehow, either through the anime, the games, or any other mediums. But thanks for watching. I might talk about Inazuma 11 more in the future. Let's see how this video does. And BIP of Bizarre Interest Productions, signing off.